What's going on tonight?
Welcome to CHMA Broadcasting from Sackville, New Brunswick, Canada. You are listening either on 106.9 FM in the Tantramar area or at www.chmafm.com. This is Ground Control at YMC Midgic Airport. You are joining myself filled with holiday cheer.
Is that what you're filled with?
Today it is, yeah, that's what we're calling it.
All right.
We're on the radio. It's just holiday cheer. Air traffic controller Thomas.
And air traffic controller Luke.
Join us for the next hour as we watch the skies, listen to some tunes, chat, and we will be done by and by. So, Luke.
Yeah, man. How's the weather outside? Yeah. So, a sidebar, and this is pretty early in the show to be doing a sidebar, but this is generally recorded live.
Yes.
But on this particular occasion, this is recorded live on Thursday evening.
That is correct.
So this is another in our series of preemptive weather updates.
Yes, preemptive weather update is the 28th currently. We are going live on CHMA on the 31st.
Yeah. Oh, should we be like pumping out New Year's Eve bangers?
Yeah,
like,
want to do Old Lang Syne and stuff?
No, not really.
So yeah, what's the weather looking like?
So
for
excuse me while I look through my future weather predictions
your scrying
here.
glass.
I'll pull down the. Being an air traffic controller, I should really know there's actual weather reports that are issued by like Aviation Canada and such.
Yeah,
I have friends who are pilot nerds, and they used to look at that as opposed to.
We all have friends that are pilots, man. We're air traffic controllers.
Oh, right, yes. And in the business, everybody has some pilot friends. Anyway, I'm gonna go for it again, just like I was wishing for on Christmas. Maybe like a nice, easy snow coming down outside.
We did not spend Christmas together.
No.
We have families.
Yes.
Apart from each other.
Yes.
Was it a light snow where you were?
I don't believe so.
Yeah,
no.
it was. I was even thinking about you, and I was like, nah.
It's not gonna happen. But
I've
got hopes. Like for the, if you can't ring Christmas in with some snow, maybe can ring New Year's Eve in with some snow.
With some snow. Well, hopefully, we're gonna go right into our first song. Hey, do you know what we didn't do? We didn't start a timer.
Queue up our playlist or set up a timer.
Yeah, we usually start up a timer when we're doing these pre-recorded shows, just so we know how much is an hour. Do you know how much we went over last time?
Quite a lot.
Yeah, we were like an hour and 20 minutes. I had to cut 20 minutes out. I cut the entire book report out.
Amazing.
I was just like, hey, if you do want to listen to that book report, you can listen to it at midgicairport.com.
It's like bonus content?
Yeah, we have bonus content on our website now, and we have
trailblazing radio here, folks. You can
bonus content on our Spotify. Sorry, not on our Spotify, on our SoundCloud. But we do have a Spotify now. But I'll get into that promo later. Don't you worry.
Oh man! All right, I've started the clock. We're rolling, people. We got an hour here with you, Thomas. What's the first tune we're going to hear tonight?
I think I'm going to go with "Let It Slide" by Matt Anderson. Have you ever seen Matt Anderson live? He's a big boy.
He is a big boy. I've seen video of him, and the man's got the lungs, you know.
I'm a big boy.
Yeah.
I'm a big boy.
People can tell that on radio.
I'm telling the people.
They know now.
They do know now. But I am when you think of a big boy, people think of me.
Okay.
Matt Anderson is, I think, taller and larger than I am.
All right.
He's a big boy.
Yeah. Let's listen to him sing.
He's got big lungs. Here is "Let It Slide" by Matt Anderson.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I'm sick of solving
other people's problems.
You want answers?
I don't got it.
I hear you shouting
From your rooftop,
throwing stones.
from your sofa,
Let it go, let it ride, let it slide.
let it slide.
You pick and choose.
Your point of view,
You're offended by the way I make my bed. I'm so bored.
not much to do.
You sit at home.
And bitch about the
Let
news.
it go, let it ride, listen.
What you even talking about?
Let it go, let it ride, let it slide.
Let it slide.
I'm sick of solving.
Other people's problem,
You won't answer.
I don't got.
I hear you shouting,
From your rooftop,
throwing stones.
from your sofa.
Let it go, let it ride, let it slide.
Let it slide.
Let it go, let it ride, let it slide.
Let it slide.
Let it go, let it ride, let it slide.
Yeah, so I fact checked this while the tune was playing, but Matt Anderson was at the Larley Creek Hullabaloo this past summer.
Woo!
Which is one of those events I always think I should go to just
Yeah.
so I can say I've been to the Larley Creek Hullabaloo.
We should go report at it.
Just like we're going to do on the Rogersville Bluegrass
Exactly. We should
Festival.
become
Festival travel
reporters.
reporters. Yeah, that's a thing that could happen.
You hate that idea.
Just logistically, it seems difficult.
Oh my goodness! You know there was actually a lot of sports news this
Oh,
week.
yeah. Well, what are you gonna learn me about sports
So-
tonight?
I was going to talk about the Q a little bit. I'm sure you've heard of the Q.
That's a hockey league,
That is a
sir.
hockey league, and it used to be the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League.
Yes.
It's now changed its name because it has 4 teams in the Maritimes. 2 here
Yes.
in New Brunswick.
Yep.
Maybe 3
No,
here in New Brunswick.
do they still have? They still have the. This I know. The Bathurst has a team,
Yes.
and St. John,
Yeah.
and Moncton.
That's correct. So there's 3 here in New Brunswick. There
Yeah.
is, I believe, only 1 in Nova Scotia, the Halifax Mooseheads,
Yeah.
and then there's 1 in PEI.
Okay.
So they
used to have Maine as well.
Yeah, I think they did.
The Lewiston Maniacs, I
Yes.
believe.
But so they're changing the name from Quebec Major Junior Hockey League to the Quebec Maritime Junior Hockey League.
Oh, so they can keep all their letterhead.
Yeah. So exactly.
They're just kind of throwing us a bone, being like, "Yo,
I'm fine with the bone.
thanks for being on board with our hockey
Yeah,
league."
Hey, look, the St. John Sea Dogs is one of the most successful franchises in the Q.
Yeah, I used to work with a guy from St. John, and he knew I was not into sports,
Yeah.
and he still couldn't contain his enthusiasm for the Sea Dogs.
Hey, I don't like St. John a ton. Sorry, St. John listeners.
Spit and fire, yeah.
I am actually, born and raised in St. John, so
Mhm.
any chance I get, I talk about how bad the place is.
Yeah.
But I love the Sea Dogs. Sea Dogs are great.
There you go.
Also, the World Rally Championship.
Oh, WRC, baby.
Yeah, it's coming up to a new season, so I was going to talk about the former season. And
Yeah.
the new season. We're not doing
So,
that today.
so our listeners might not know this, but I am an automotive enthusiast.
That is correct, which is why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
There is a CFL player that is trying out for World Wrestling Entertainment. He used to be the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation.
Yeah, but then
And-
they lost. Yeah.
What?
Then they lost their acronym, right?
Yes. They lost it to the World Wildlife Federation in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And not all listeners will know that I am a big Used to be much bigger. I just keep kind of an eye on it now, but wrestling fan.
I would say you're more than a casual wrestling fan.
I don't watch it anymore, though.
But you still keep your finger on the.
I do keep my finger on the pulse. I like,
Yeah.
I'll
You know what's going on.
to an extent. I'll read up like once a pay-per-view happens or a premium live event. I'll read like what happened.
Yeah.
But I don't watch them anymore. I don't watch weekly anymore.
All right.
But anyway, but what I'm going to talk about,
Instead of those fairly mainstream things, which I knew something about, is Excel,
Excel.
like the Microsoft program.
Yep.
You want to draw me a line of how we're getting from sports to
It's an
accounting?
E-sport. It's an esport.
Excel is an e-sport?
Yeah, buddy, the financial modeling.
No.
Financial modeling World Cup
Ah,
just happened. So actually, the Financial Modeling World Cup is an organization that hosts various Microsoft Excel-based competitions. So the first competition was in September 2020, and currently there are 3 major competitions in the world. There is the Financial Modeling World Cup, the FMWC, the Microsoft Excel World Championship, the MEWC, and actually we just had last week the MEWC. And of course the Microsoft Excel Collegiate Challenge, so the MECC. Okay? So,
are we going to have to set criteria going forward of what meets and doesn't meet a sport? I assume this has been done. Like the criteria is pretty well defined.
I'm sure it is, yes. But
Yeah.
it is an e-sport. Are we not adding e-sports?
I just don't know.
Look, we'll talk about it.
Off
probably
air?
No, I was going to say on air. We're definitely going to have this
Oh my
conversation on air.
goodness.
But-
Yeah, give me some time to think about this so I can more clearly articulate my thoughts. But
Look, are you telling me you're going to allow chess with no problems? Like we talked about chess last week. But for some reason, Microsoft Excel is too far for you.
I think so somehow.
Interesting. I would like, you know what? I want to know why. And you don't need to articulate it right now.
All right.
But I do want to know why.
Leave it with me, and
Yeah.
I'll try. Chess is a game. I think no one would disagree that chess is a game.
Sure.
And I think as a standalone, last week I was willing to say, yeah, that's good. And I'll be honest, I know a little bit about chess, so it was
Yeah.
like, this makes good radio when I'm not just completely ignorant on the topic.
Yes.
And it's a little more interesting conversation for people to listen to and us to have. But the jump to Excel from chess, I
It's
guess,
the jump
other
too
than
far.
letters and numbers being involved in the play of it.
Wow.
I don't know. How's the exciting little-known world of, is it professional
Oh,
Excel? So there are people who make their livelihood.
I wouldn't say make their livelihood. Well, look, there are players in the CFL that play in the CFL, most of the year, and then they have jobs outside the CFLs as well. I wouldn't say,
They're not professional athletes.
yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
And like,
That wouldn't make the criteria, I suppose.
so the winner, the 3-time world champion, Andrew Ngay, he first represented Great Britain, moved to Australia, and he now represents Australia. He is actually in the 2020. He actually came 3rd, so he's been top 3.
He's been climbing.
Well, he's been top 3 every year, so he is in 3rd place and then first. He actually thought he got out this year, which is why we're talking about it. There was a technical glitch, and he kept working through it, but he thought he was like 30 seconds behind where he actually was.
Mm-hmm.
So
He uses the same timer technology we do.
Yeah, exactly. So every 7 seconds, someone is out, essentially. So they are all, look, I don't know anything about this, like, high-level Excel, but they're essentially, like, doing...
Are they making like a set of financials? Like, is it like an accounting exam where they dump a whole bunch of journal entries in front of you, and you have to build the company's financials in a limited amount of time?
From my understanding, each stage contains 3 case studies, 1 to 5 pages long, with multiple choice or fill-in questions at the end with bonus questions. So people can choose to do the bonus questions.
Yep.
Or just choose to do the regular questions.
Yeah. And
But
hopefully
if you
do
don't
it very
all the regular
well.
questions, you don't get the bonus question. So some people choose to do the bonus question at the beginning and then fill out. Anyway, there is strategy to it.
Yeah.
Contrary to what the name suggests, not all case studies are financial modeling based. Many are business modeling or data modeling based as well.
Oh, this is a big old throwback because, and you may not know this, you may, but like once upon a time, I was a business student.
Yes.
And I did some business case competitions where they lock you in a room for a couple hours with, in my case, a few people that were far more intelligent than myself.
Yeah.
And basically they give you a business scenario and you come out at the end, you present to a panel of judges, you get grilled, and you hopefully don't say anything that puts your foot too far down your throat.
Fair.
But once upon a time, I got roped into doing one that was like a pure accounting one. It was going to be put on by UNAM in Moncton.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they thought having someone with like a French name would be helpful, or they needed someone to present in French, which was, my French skills were a little sharper at the time.
Yes.
Or what, but they had, the university which I used to attend had some very strong accounting students.
Interesting.
And they thought if we pair someone up with them who can present a little bit, maybe it would be a nice thing, and someone put my name for it, and I agreed to it. And let me tell you, when a winter storm came through and canceled that event,
Never been happier.
oh my goodness, the relief, like the brownie points earned with my business prof,
Yes.
but also the relief of not having to go in front and field like accounting questions
Super fair, yeah.
in front of a panel of accountants.
Yeah.
Was just like, oh, I can remember it. I can remember where I was standing in the school, because it was like, I'm off the hook. You know, it's like the fish that got away. So,
But yeah, so Andrew Ngay, he won, and he is
the world champion
yes, and his
at
other
Excel.
job is he is an actuary. So if you don't know what an actuary is, they are people that essentially do a lot of difficult maths in calculating probability of something to happen or something not to happen. For
Yeah, they're huge in
companies.
their insurance. Like,
Yeah. So obviously, probably pretty strong math skills.
probably good at that. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's our sports update for this week. We were looking at the Microsoft Excel World Championship.
Oh my goodness!
the
I hope they give you like
MEWC.
like a golden thumb drive as the prize. Like,
Oh,
can
no.
it be something so office based?
No, they just give you money.
Oh, that's okay too. Is it like $20?
The top prize in 2023 was $25,000.
Huh?
Yeah,
Is it footed by Microsoft
I'm
as a
sure it
marketing
is.
exercise?
I am sure it is.
And if it is, I mean, okay.
I think they can afford it. We are moving into another song. I'm going to. Oh no, we're gonna do "Whistle and a Grin" by the Stanfield.
Hey, you want to know why the Stanfields made the playlist this week?
Why?
Because there was a holiday that involved gift giving quite recently.
Correct.
And one of the things that came up in discussion was nobody got long johns, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
Insulated underwear that used to be a thing. And for those of us not from the Maritimes, this Stanfield company used to make long johns in Nova Scotia.
Yes.
It was a big thing. So it's one of those regional, it's not tissue paper, it's Kleenex. Well,
Yes.
for a lot of people from the Maritimes, it's not long johns. It's, you're wearing your Stanfields.
Yeah.
And I got this nice insulated underlayer shirt for if I pretend to be athletic outside in the
Totally,
winter.
yeah.
But, no Stanfields. But I did see them live in Halifax once. They put on a heck of a show.
Did one of your parents call them Stanfields?
No.
I can see your father calling them Stanfields.
Yeah, my mother definitely not. But my father, no, I think he would have gone with Long Johns.
I think your mother would have a name for them, be it neither Long John's or Stanfield's, and no one except her knowing where that name came from.
Yeah, and you'd 100% have to get it by context.
That was the only way. It would be like a context clue, and everyone's like, okay, yeah, that's what you're talking about.
That's what we're
I
rolling
love your
with.
mother. Okay.
Me too.
We are going with Whistle and a Grin by the Stanfields.
Yeah, we're going to bring the energy up a notch here.
Woo.
I'm what you'd call a betting man, and I live from pay to pay. I'm a hot card stirred, a mongrel blood, and a zero on the day. No, I'm no sage, nor soothsayer, nor arbiter of truth. I'm high in risk, I'm low in temper, and long in the tooth. And I'm long in the tooth. And I'm wide awake on the losing end of it. I better check my pride, take it on the chin. With a whistle and a grin, with a whistle and a grin. Oh, buxom bell with a surefire tail was barking at my tree. I couldn't take her money, she was making as me. Oh, so fine with a low neckline, reckless, fast and loose. She giggled as she drew me in and tightened up the noose. Yeah, she tightened up the noose. Now I'm wide awake on the losing end of it. I better check my pride, take it on the chin. With a whistle and a grin, with a whistle and a grin. I used the brain between my legs to win the kitchen sink. The painted up bamboozler left me staring in my drink. To plumb the depths inside my head, but I can't seem to find the moral of the story or a little peace of mind. Just a little peace of mind. And I'm wide awake on the losing end of it. I better check my pride, take it on the chin. With a whistle and a grin, with a whistle and a grin, with a whistle and a grin, with a whistle and a grin.
Yeah, a few years ago, I was down in Halifax and got to see them open for Flogging Molly, I think.
Oh, nice.
And if you're ever at one of those shows where you're like, I'm not cool enough to be at this show, but the music was, I mean, a lot of music.
Yeah.
I think both of those bands had I think they rolled through every instrument available that night,
Yeah.
but all of it, like the level of musicianship was quite high.
I have never gone to a show and was like, I'm not cool enough to be here. But that's because I have far too much confidence for someone of my stature.
I don't know what to tell you.
So, I'm talking about being super cool.
Yeah, man.
What have you been reading?
You know what? We're on the same page here. I know because you told me you were reading The Hobbit,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, I haven't read The Hobbit in a hot minute.
Yeah.
And I had some spare time over the past few weeks, so just read me The Hobbit.
Well,
And
have
was
you heard
like,
of a guy named Bjorn?
Bjorn's one of my favorites.
So if you remember, you actually brought Bjorn up.
Yeah, because Bjorn's the second guy in the second time in the book that Gandalf pulls the whole. We've only got a couple people here, and then it's next thing you know, it's a party.
Yeah, there's literally
Yeah,
15 people there.
yeah. No, Bjorn's a bad butt. Is that PG radio?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's well, obviously he can assume the form of a great black bear.
Yeah, which is a bold move.
Oh yeah. Did you know? So this is a part of not essentially the Hobbit, but a part of the Fellowship. That his descendants are called Bjornings. Bjornings.
Bjornings.
Yeah, and they can all turn into bears too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that's a powerful move. But there's no mention, I believe, when they're there, Bjorn having a wife.
No, and I think it isn't until after.
That he decides to settle down?
Yeah, he settles down. So the Bjornings are counted among the free peoples of Middle-earth who oppose Sauron. So, like, the Bjornings keep essentially everything where Bjorn lived free of Sauron's forces, because they would, like, just come in and he'd be like, his kids and grandkids and kinsmen would all be like, well, I'm actually a bear and I don't like you.
Yeah. Well, that would put an end to a lot of arguments. Yeah.
So, yeah, as I'm not gonna I got some feedback, but the segment was a little long, so I'm trying to
Really, for those of you wondering how long Thomas went on about, it was one of the
Radagast.
dwarves. Oh, was
No.
Radagast last week?
Yeah, last week was Radagast Brown.
Oh yeah,
It was
Radagast.
Gloin
Brown.
the first week, the father of Gimli.
Yeah, well, so you're rolling right along because Radagast, when Gandalf shows up at Bjorn's, he full on name drops.
Yeah, well, when he gets to Bjorn's, when he gets to Bjorn's, he's looking for Radagast, right?
No, I think if I remember it right, I go back and check, but I'm pretty sure he's just like, yo, we're looking for a little help, and my buddy Radagast.
Ah, yes.
Well,
but that's because
it's like when I show up at musical events and don't think I'm cool enough, but I'm like, I know Thomas, and they're like, yeah, all right.
Well, they both live near Mirkwood. That's
Yeah,
probably why they know each other. Yeah.
So surprised me about Bjorn. He's got a bunch of kids and he's got some bears.
Yeah,
the bears are his kids.
What I forgot was, obviously he provides vital information, provides them like a house to stay in. Convinced of Gandalf and the party's trustworthiness after hearing their encounter with the goblins in the Misty Mountains. After slaying the Great Goblin.
Yeah, comes in clutch there at the last minute.
Yeah. So Bjorn actually arrives at the Lonely Mountain like during the Battle of Five Armies.
Yeah.
Just shows up.
Yeah, and when things are going poorly and was
Things are
like,
going real bad.
excuse me, can everyone just pause here for a minute? I'm going to...
He learns that there's a bunch of goblins there. And he's like, do what I do love me doing.
Just,
Just killing some goblins.
just walking through an army of goblins.
So, yeah, he just turns into a bear and kills Bolg, the goblin leader.
Yeah.
Who, what? Actually, I'll
If it weren't for that, I'd say this guy would be a fantastic Sackville resident because, loves gardening,
Yeah.
maintains the peace, has bees. He's ticking off a lot of what we would consider now quite popular
honestly,
things.
if we had goblins around, I wouldn't mind him being here.
That's fair, I guess.
But yeah. And actually, he kills the goblin leader Bolg, who, hint, hint, we might be talking about next week because he's a big guy. He's got a lot of things to do.
I got to brush up on my goblin lore
Maybe
for next
a little
week?
bit.
Oh,
But yeah,
man.
Bjorn indeed became a great chief afterwards in those regions and ruled a wide land between the mountains and woods. Said that for many generations, the men of his line had the power of taking the bear shape and were some grim men and bad. Some were. But most were like in heart Bjorn. Just in less in size and strength. So yeah, of course some of these bear men are going to be bad people, but most of his kin were just smaller, less strong him, and
Kept things in line.
kept things in line.
All right. No, I like that guy. I would go on to say, like I say, having just finished the book because you mentioned it, so I went back and just burned through it.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if he'd be my favorite character, but he's
awesome.
he's up there.
Yeah.
He's up there. I liked what he was. I like that he's the only one in the book that like they show up and ask for help, and he's like, "I kind of give you some help," but then the first night he's like, "Yeah, I went to check on your whole story just to make sure you weren't messing with me. Now that I know it's true, you guys just help yourself.
Yeah.
Pantry's over there. There's the kitchen. Some couches.
It's funny, like how he's
Make
like,
yourself at home.
The first night he's like, yeah,
Yeah, you're
Sure.
welcome here. Don't leave the building."
yeah, and then he turns into a bear, runs across, God knows how long, gets back, and he's like, obviously, like he had the idea in his head. It's like, if I need to dispose of these 15,
Whoa,
I can easily do it.
whoa, you're making it pretty dark.
Well, I'm just saying, like, he wasn't worried about them. He was like, yeah, you can stay here. I'm just going to check if what
Just
you're
gonna
saying
go-
is true.
yeah.
And if it's not,
Well, like there was no phone a friend. He's not picking up
I
the
know.
phone to check on something. So it's just like I'm just
I'm
going
going to go check.
There you
And
go.
if you're lying, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to deal with you. Like,
as a bear does.
as a bear. Yeah.
All right.
He's not even worried about Gandalf, really.
I don't think a man bear of his stature needs to worry about stuff.
Nah, probably not. Hey, we're going to listen to a song.
What are we listening to now?
This
I got the last one. You do
is-
one.
This is going to be Impromptu Tune. So it's by Nelson Simmons quartet. Nelson he's unfortunately passed, a really great jazz guitarist from Preston,
Okay.
down Halifax way.
Yep.
So, always looking for, especially great jazz here in the Maritimes. I am. So we're going to listen to a little bit of Nelson Simmons Quartet, Impromptu.
Thank
Man, jazz sometimes is just it's its own thing, eh? Like in an impressive way.
Yeah, like there's not really another art form musically like it. In music, we really have like two distinct types of music.
Mm-hmm.
Being
Good and
no folk and art music.
folk and art.
Yeah.
That's how music is divided down the middle.
Well, it is one actually a quite useful way to think about music.
Mm-hmm.
Like blues typically is folk music.
Okay.
Pop music that we have on the radio typically, I'm saying typically.
Whoa. You're gonna
Folk
no
music.
whichever way you anger. Holy.
Words.
Whichever way you answer, you're gonna anger some people.
I don't think I would. Like,
All right.
Pop is folk music. Like these are musics, typically telling stories.
Mm-hmm.
Music with
Music with a message.
music with a message, yes, but a lot of jazz and classical, which typically go into art music. Have
Yeah, it would be
messages
like
too.
you'd have a narrative. Maybe you're not using words to
Yeah.
communicate a message,
But art music is, usually more harmonically and melodically complex, but not always.
there's some simple jazz out there.
There's more simple jazz. But even like if we look at the blues, like there
Yeah.
is, Robert Johnson blues,
Yeah,
and there is John Coltrane blues. Like
it's a pretty big spectrum.
it is. So like blues. Some blues is 100% like Eric Clapton plays blues,
Yeah.
100% folk.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Davis played a lot of blueses as well, but his would be more in the art side of music. But getting back off that tangent,
Yeah.
for art music, jazz is kind of like in its own little.
Sub.
Yeah, it's just like harmonically, rhythmically dense. And I understand like listening to that is like very difficult for some people. And I'm like literally just sitting on my couch being the happiest little clam listening
Yeah.
to that. Like that was a killer little track that I can't believe came out of.
Y'all should have seen
The
his
main
happy
time.
little face.
I was so happy the whole time.
Thomas, what's going on in the news?
Rick Howe. See this guy? That's Rick.
I see a picture.
Yeah, that's Rick.
What's-
Rick is a retired journalist.
Okay. Feel like that'd be the kind of thing that'd be hard to turn off.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The kind of like, being a musician. It's like, one day I retire, but
Do you just stop playing music?
no.
I
But I'm not a
assume not.
musician. I'm an air traffic controller, which I am going to retire from someday.
Yes.
And never air traffic control again.
Never, not even once.
Not even think about
Not even gonna point to a plane in the
it.
sky.
No, this isn't my passion.
Wow.
What?
I thought we were both pursuing our passion here, but anyway,
I'm sorry.
go on.
This is a job for me.
All right, inform me about this retired
Rick Howe
gentleman.
spotted a cassette tape he hadn't seen in years
Oh,
when he slid it into his vintage Martez recorder.
Mm-hmm.
The sound carried him back half a century, and the voices took him back more than 100 years. Howe was a cub reporter when he moved to Halifax in 1978. He was also a radio news junkie. So when CJCH host Dave Wright opened his hotline show to people who'd survived the Halifax explosion, he started recording.
whoa.
So yeah, Rick Howe this week refound, so like it's a found tape,
Yeah.
this cassette of 3 hours of
Interviews of people.
essentially interviews of people who lived through the Halifax explosion. So this was
Wow.
1978 when the show aired. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, and they would be recounting it. Probably people who had experienced it, like in their childhood.
well, some as
Well-
childhood, but like some, I'm not going to go through. I'm not going to read the whole article for you folks. You can find
Yeah.
it on CBC, CBC Nova Scotia, Halifax explosion survivors lost tapes. But if we're looking at if we're looking at 78, that's how many years ago? Like we're going on nearing 50. What 45
Yeah.
years ago?
Yeah.
So the tapes are 45 years old. So like, thank God that the cassette still works, even.
Yeah, do they like demagnetize and
well-
stuff after time?
Tapes degrade.
Okay.
Typically only degrade after a lot of use,
No.
but tapes can
Just go.
degrade. Oh yeah, depending on what conditions they are in.
Huh.
Like if it's in a too wet of a place, too warm of a place, etc., etc. Like tapes
Yeah.
can just
Huh.
can just break.
All right.
But yeah, reading through it, it's like, it's a 70-year-old woman. So yeah, this is in the 70s. So it's a 70-year-old woman talking about like her being in her 20s with 2 young children.
Whoa.
The kids will obviously be too young to remember the Halifax explosion, but like
Yeah.
she remembers it, remember it happening,
Yeah.
remembering it getting in the horse-drawn carriage to get out of town because
Man.
of feared a second explosion.
Yeah.
Remembered. Obviously doesn't remember losing consciousness, but remember gaining consciousness,
Oof.
being in a completely different spot, still with her kids, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
It's riveting to read, and it is, I'm a little bit of a history buff.
Huh.
Obviously I took my air traffic controlling school. I also did a little bit
With a minor in history.
I did a little bit of music school in there.
At the same time, explains your jazz passion. Yes.
Yeah, and the minor with my air traffic controlling and my music was in history.
Yeah.
And this is fascinating to me, just reading through these accounts. And, every time something in the media like this happens, like we have this hard medium that we have rediscovered. It is really just like bringing honestly, this is a harrowing part of our history back.
Yeah.
But it's still so important, especially to have these
Yeah.
primary sources.
Yeah. I mean, pre-nuclear, that was the largest man-made explosion ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And only recently has it become anything but the largest
Yeah.
non-nuclear explosion ever.
And it's, to say that the Halifax explosion is not a huge part of the history of course, Nova Scotia, but all of the Maritimes.
Yeah.
It would be silly. Like, it still impacts people today.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just, if you are a history person yourself, and I would highly suggest looking up Rick Howe and Dave Wright's Hotline show from 1978, and just listening to and reading about the stories of the people that, primary sources of the Halifax explosion. And the interesting thing is, like, we have a lot of first-hand accounts of the Halifax explosion.
Yeah.
But they're typically from firefighters, police chiefs,
Not from everyday
mayors,
people.
politicians. Exactly.
Yeah.
Not from, not from Dorothy, the 22-year-old mother of 2. You know? And that's what
Yeah,
this
and
show-
that's such a different view on history. And like I think the
Yeah.
only thing close I could even parallel to that would be, and maybe that's even the difference between the few years between you and I, but like I can plainly remember 9/11.
Yeah, so
And
I won't say how old either of us were during that or the age difference between us.
yeah,
I will say I remember it. I vividly remember it.
yeah,
But I remember coming home from school and not understanding what it actually meant. I had a
Yeah.
cousin in the building,
yeah,
and I knew he got out.
yeah.
That was my extent of knowing what
Yeah.
happened.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so it's that's a neat tidbit, probably worth looking into for
If you're interested in that sort of stuff, 100%. News!
news.
Luke!
Man, I listen. If I was better at radio, I would have segued this so well because my local news is actually out of New York this week, and this is mostly for a reaction piece for you. But
Okay.
did you know that this past week, the New York Times
Okay.
filed a lawsuit
Okay.
against Microsoft and ChatGPT
No.
because if
Wait,
you
is Microsoft and Chat... Those are two different companies,
excuse
aren't they?
me, ChatGPT and whatever. I'm still on earlier.
Whatever.
as
Yeah,
Microsoft.
OpenAI.
Yeah, OpenAI. There we go. You can ask ChatGPT to cite you something, right?
Yes.
Tell me the best cheesecake recipe
Yes.
that New York Times posted last year.
Great.
But if you ask ChatGPT that, you may or may not actually get something that came from the New York Times.
Of course, yes.
And the New York Times is saying that our reputation has been based for eons on the fact that we provide, we produce our own high standard of journalism.
Sorry. I have to be a little bit of a jerk and chuckle at that. But
Okay.
yes, continue.
They produce, well, let's modernize it a bit. They produce
They
original content.
They have original content that they put their thumbprint on.
Yes.
Yes.
And they own that.
Yes.
But they are saying that because because ChatGPT was based on, huge swaths of data taken from the internet, that some swath of that data
Yep.
was from them.
Sure.
They might not get cited. They might not get recognition to it.
Sure.
And whether they like it or not, it's becoming a competition for them.
Sure. I've heard
Whether
this.
they're going to be able to prove anything about it.
Well, that's the thing. I've heard everyone from comedians suing ChatGPT for essentially the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Being like, you're stealing my jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly is just rampant in comedy anyway. But yeah, just I don't know. I don't know how many. There's so many lawsuits against ChatGPT right now.
Man.
And I don't know how many are frivolous, and I don't know how many are going to go through. And just like
It's wild. Like, I remember when it came out, and then I remember not that long after hearing from some of my friends who might be in the educational profession that, like, kids are just using it to have papers written for them.
yes, and I know many people in the education profession who would also be like, yeah, but you can also tell very easily.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's face it. Those of us who've, like, hung out on the internet for a hot minute and seen the bots over the years on, like, if you're old enough for, like, forums and chat boards and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's real easy to tell when it's not a person.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like, well, maybe this is not a person who's communicating in their first language. And sometimes it's like, this is not a human. The information is there, but it's not structured in a way that
a human would actually say it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, and for our education friends that I've talked to, it's very easy to pick out because teachers know the specific level already that students are coming in with.
Whoa. You telling me that if a kid's like barely able to tell you the capital of the province, that next week he's going to give you a 5-page paper on the history of the Sackville salt marshes?
I'm just saying, like, if you laugh when I say Regina, and then you turn in a paper about how the economic impact the declining oil industry has specifically on Saskatchewan,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all worded really, really well.
Those
But
things might
it's
not align.
just surface level information. I'm probably going to be like, hey.
Yeah.
And by me, I mean someone else is probably going to be like, hey.
Yeah.
This might not.
Yeah.
Be.
You might want to resubmit this.
Yes, exactly. Anyway.
Cool.
From there, we are going to our next song.
Oh, yeah.
Old Man L.
Old Man Ludica, man.
Yeah.
Like, he knows what's up, I think. If you gave me the chance to sit down with a maritime artist who's like, and not necessarily have a conversation or even like, but just maybe, had to be in the company of someone for a few minutes.
Yeah.
I think he must be a pretty chill dude.
We might be able to make that happen.
Eh.
You don't want to?
No, I mean, it's fine if it's happened. You don't want to force something like that. But if you, like, found yourself in line behind buying a bagel somewhere and
that's
was like,
fair.
yeah, you got to split
Man.
a table.
Aren't bagels great?
Oh, they're just so good.
I wish we had more, like, dedicated bagel places here in the Maritimes.
Huh.
You don't agree?
Well, like, it's fine. I don't find getting a good bagel particularly challenging, but maybe if I had access to better bagels, I'd feel
Have you
differently.
never gone to Montreal and gotten a good bagel?
Either way,
Have you never gone to Montreal and gotten a good
Yes,
bagel?
I've gone to
Oh my
Montreal.
goodness.
I've gotten bagels. I've gotten
I
smoked
quit my
meat.
job.
What a tune. Here it is.
Oh, bright minds of poverty, hold on to your hard-won liberty and discard your store-bought realities. Don't let them take the joy that you make on your own. Work when you need to, maybe, but don't let them bleed you, baby. They do nothing more than feed you, lady. Don't let them take the joy that you make on your own. Don't fuss, don't fight it, no. Take that wrong and right it home. You can always live on rice and potatoes. Take your heart's candle and relight it. I quit my job. I quit my job. I quit my job. I'm free today. Should be proud of where I am. All my friends work their dreams with their hands. And truly this is the promised land. If you don't let them take the joy that you make on your own. Don't kill yourself about making it. Just be taking it easy, but be taking it. There's enough out there who are faking it. Don't let them take the joy that you make on your own. Don't fuss, don't fight it, no. Take that wrong and right it home. You can always live on rice and potato. Take your heart's candle and relight it. I quit my job. I quit my job. I quit my job. I'm free today.
Coming back with some promos. Sunday at 8 a.m., we got Legendary Maritime Bluegrass Show, which started in 1977. Wilson has been recognized 5 times as Broadcaster of the Year. So take a listen to the bluegrass and old-time music with Wilson Moore. Sundays at 11 a.m., hosted by Brian Nielsen. We have Sunday service at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, live streamed directly from St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Sackville, New Brunswick. On Tuesdays at 9, we have Dad's Vinyl Collection. Rory Fisk will be giving you a deep dive into rock and roll. And finally, we got the night shift. You got to go check out their promo pic if you haven't. Still, with Luca Compone spinning an adventurous mix of sounds. That is Sunday, so tonight at 9 p.m.
Man, there's so many good lines in that tune, but like I remember the first time I heard that tune, and there's a line. It's like, you know, you can always live on rice and potatoes. And I don't know. I find something about those songs that it's like, you know, there's 100 ways to say that that money doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
But you know, you can always live on rice and potatoes.
Hey, man, like,
And
rice
I like
potatoes
both of
are
those
actually
things.
like 2 of my favorite foods. Yeah.
I went to make potatoes tonight as a side with supper, and they were just like a little too. The few I had left were a little too far gone. I was pretty sad.
Yeah, I made. We had my wife's entire family over here last night, and
Lovely people.
lovely people. I am the luckiest man in the world to have in-laws as I do.
Aw,
I don't know how many potatoes I made.
quite a few.
Oh, I just like we have a little new grill.
Yeah, you filled it.
Just so it was a raquette. Do you know what a raquette is?
No.
I don't either really, but it's like a grill.
Okay.
And I boiled 2 pounds of new potatoes.
Yeah,
little,
buddy.
Little new potatoes. Cut them in half, boil them all, and then just like let them sit on the grill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, flat side down to get
Yeah.
a nice crisp on them.
Yeah.
Then you just put ketchup or cheese or whatever you want on them.
Shameless plug. I went to Fenner's the other day.
Oh,
Had
Fenner's
their
in town is
the
great.
potatoes and with the garlic sauce on it. It's like a tomb, but I don't know what. Oh man. Oh
Fenner's
man,
is
it's so good.
incredible.
Thomas, who are you giving a gold star to this week?
No, man, you gotta do your gold star first because mine's better.
If I say the name Michael Dieter, ring a bell?
No.
Michael Dieter was formerly the cartoonist. I'm looking. There's a better word for the people who do a cartoon every day when it has to do with like current events and
Illustrator.
satire and stuff. But anyway, he did it for a bunch of the local papers.
Yeah.
But Michael Dieter just announced that he's being inducted into the Order of Canada.
That's awesome.
Guy from Moncton.
Yeah.
Guy who this is a bit of a throwback here to the last tune, but like I assume liked what he did.
Yeah.
Found a living just like
Making cartoons.
drawing stuff. And
Why wasn't this your local news?
I'm really not sure. Because the guy deserves a gold star. Look,
does, yeah,
he
you're
has
right.
the gold. Listen, lots of people in the Order of Canada. Not
Yeah.
so many people with one of our gold stars.
He is currently
The
The
only
only-
cartoonist.
the only person
Yes.
right now. He is the only person that both has a gold star and is in the Order of Canada.
And that's setting records.
Yeah, that's certainly something.
It
That
really
is
is.
certainly a thing.
I would. Yes. Anyway, who or what or when are you giving a gold star to this
Sorry,
week?
Can I give dates a gold star?
Like if something particularly good happened, I don't know.
If something
Again, going back to our earlier conversations, it's a good criteria. We'll debate whether we can give a gold star to dates later.
Super fair.
Yeah.
Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Santa Claus, look, real short of it. You know, he works
So hard.
He works so hard. He, people think it's a 1 day a year job. It's not. He probably gets like 4 weeks vacation because he's pretty high up in the organization, right?
I would think at the top.
I don't know if he's the CEO.
Oh, I was about to say he's the LHOHO, but that's so bad.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, all right. Anyway.
So he at least gets 4 weeks off.
Yeah, man.
He's working 320 days a year. And people only recognize him for the 1 day, but like I'm here to recognize him for
The rest of the work.
300 of the days that he works. Yeah.
All right.
God bless that man.
You give Santa a gold star.
He's the golden star. Hey,
All
Don Cherry
right.
update.
Oh my.
Oh goodness.
Can we
1 second, because I had a Don Cherry update for us, but it is gone.
I am
Have you heard of a pocket trumpet before?
I one assumes it's a trumpet you can fit in your
a pocket that you can fit in your trumpet?
A pocket that you can fit in your trumpet, which is, I think, most trumpets you can fit things in because they got the flare at the end.
That is called the bell.
The bell. Oh, because it's like a bell mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense than the flare.
No, Don Cherry was a trumpeter. Oh, he only lived 29 years, which is quite unfortunate. 58 years. I don't know how to do math.
It's not the math radio hour.
It is not the math radio hour. But he was a very young man when he passed. Trumpeter, Donald Eugene Cherry, long performed in the bands of Ornette Coleman, huge jazz saxophonist.
I believe you.
Pioneering free jazz in the shape of jazz to come, which is actually one of the most influential jazz albums ever.
Wow.
In 1959, often credited as the first free jazz album in 1959. John Coltrane did a lot of work in free jazz in the mid to late 60s, but Ornette Coleman's "A Shape of Jazz to Come" in '59 is the first free jazz album with a free jazz, a collective improvisation in 1960. Cherry also collaborated separately with John Coltrane, Sun Ra, Ed Blackwell, Charlie Hayden, the New York Contemporary Five, and Albert Eiler, all big in free jazz scenes at different points. Yeah, he was a monster on his instrument. I know a lot of people think free jazz is just like noise. Here's the thing.
Okay.
I know a lot of people think of jazz as noise.
Yeah, okay.
And a
Well,
lot
it's
of-
good to acknowledge that up front.
And a lot of more people think of free jazz as noise.
Mm.
But the thing with like Don Cherry and all these other free jazz players that I just mentioned, they're like savants at like bebop, which is like usually like, you know, the harder jazz. When people think about jazz, like bebop's probably like the hardest to play, maybe.
Okay.
And like they were just like, I'm so bored of
This. We need to
demolishing
find
this.
something else.
Yeah, they're like, I'm just so
Cool.
bored of demolishing this that like I want to go into like a soundscape that no one's ever even touched. And it's like, yeah, if you listen to Don Cherry, some people would go like, this is just garbage noise. And when I listen to it, I'm like, this man,
Knew what was up.
well, it's just like, just on a different level musically.
All right.
Yeah, it's interesting.
This has been my favorite Don Cherry update so far.
I know. We're going to talk about more Don Cherry every single week. Don't you worry about it.
Fantastic.
Hey, thank you for listening. Thank you, CHMA, for hosting and broadcasting. Check them out at chma.com and CHMA FM on all the socials. Check out midgicairport.com and visit our merch store. Give us a shout out on all the socials at Midgic Airport, except on X, formerly known as Twitter, which we are at Midgic_airport. We are also found everywhere you can get a podcast now.
It's crazy how much of the internet we are on
We
nowadays.
are on Spotify. We are on Google Podcasts. We are on Deezer. We are on Apple Podcasts. Google Podcasts is closing, and then we'll be on YouTube. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. But man, if like we have 2 to 3 live listeners, it's amazing that people can go and hypothetically even double the number of people that could listen to this in a given week.
I'm going to tell you, we had 6 people listen to us on Spotify this week.
It's ridiculous.
It is. It's crazy. Actually, I do think that's crazy. Hey, thank you all for listening, and,
Have a great evening.
have a great evening.